on this episode of Eating Out with Eric and Steve.
Oh, I'll tell you, want to hear the loneliest, saddest Christmas
That's why we're here.
ever?
That's why people tune in.
You could read with a salad. You can't read with
You can read with a salad,
food.
but not
There's
with a sandwich?
something sad about reading with
Not
hot
with
food.
ribs. You cannot read with
I won't.
ribs.
How's this going? Is this what you want? Is this good? Is this podcast fodder?
I think this is what America wants. Podcasts.
Oh, I know, right?
They're everywhere.
Everywhere.
Everyone's got one.
Everybody.
And what are they even? They're just talking.
It's a lot of talk.
That's all they are.
That's it.
Talk.
I had dinner with Cranston the other night.
Bryan Cranston?
Yeah. We talked about the same thing.
You and Bryan Cranston were talking about how podcasts are just talking?
It's all we talked about.
Weird. Because I had lunch with Jason yesterday.
Jason Alexander.
Yeah. And that's what we were talking about.
While you were eating.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, we talked about a lot of things. Then Kevin dropped by.
Pollock.
Yeah. And we just ate and talked. Showbiz stuff.
Maybe that's our podcast.
What podcast?
We talk while we eat with our dinner pals,
Oh, people might like that.
Yeah. Unless they suffer from misophonia.
Is that like a fear of miso soup?
No. It's a thing where chewing sounds cause you anxiety and discomfort.
I get that. There's a few actors I think we can't have on the show then if that's the case.
They're disgusting.
I kind of like the way, I like this. So what do we call it?
Shoot the shit.
It's catchy. I think, though, it should have something to do with, like, eat the shit. Something that has to do with eating. Like a that doesn't work.
Chew this.
Chew this.
Chew it.
But we're talking, we're eating.
Burp and run.
There already is one of those podcasts, I think.
There's a burp and run? Really?
How about Just the Tip with Eric and Steve? How about this? Eating Out.
Eating out. Just eating out? That's
Eating
disgusting.
Out with Eric and Steve.
Eating out with Eric and Steve. I like that. All right.
Yeah.
I sign off on that. What about, do we get a theme song?
We're eating, we're drinking, we know what you're thinking. Another crappy podcast. Shit.
Couple of actors need an outlet. Come eat with you bet. Ready? We're chewing the fat over this and that, saying things you wouldn't believe.
Uh-huh.
We're swallowing, we're spitting, we're laughing and we're kidding. We're eating out with Eric and Steve. Huh?
I kind of like that.
It's good, right?
How does it go?
We're chewing the fat over this and that, saying things you wouldn't believe. We're swallowing, we're spitting, we're joking and we're kidding. We're eating out with Eric and Steve.
Okay, Steven. So I'm excited, because these are not just guests, right? These are our buddies. We've eaten with these guys a lot over the last few years, and now we get to do it for people. People get to listen to us eat with our good pals. Can you introduce our first buddy?
I would love to. This gentleman and I go way back. I think I met him at some sort of improv event, and we didn't exactly hit it off right then and there, but I've always enjoyed his work. And then we became friends, and we actually traveled to the Middle East together, where we bonded in a golf cart and on the Sea of Galilee.
So the improv, you guys pissed each other off.
I remember a lot of this much differently than you do, but keep going.
I may not be talking about you. Okay? And it's too late now. The surprise is destroyed. I'm talking, of course, about the one, the many, Richard Kind.
Welcome, Richard.
Well, I can't. The applause is killing me.
Yeah.
First of all, I can tell you exactly how we met, or do you want to introduce?
Well, we have to introduce
the person who will be joining.
We have to be a foursome. This is like bridge. So let me just say, our next dinner daddy, I think that's what we should call him, dinner daddies, is a stone cold legend Roots, Star Trek The Next Generation, The Reading Rainbow, for which he received 12 Daytime Emmys, and the Peabody. I fell in love with him, as I'm sure everyone did, about 10 years ago when he played my boss on Perception, the irreplaceable, unmistakable LeVar Burton.
Bravo.
Gentlemen.
That's you.
Yes.
Your applause.
Gentlemen,
You'll
Eric.
hear applause.
First of all, I must say, Richard Kind, I did not dare hope that I would be paired with the likes of Richard Kind for this, the inaugural podcast. What are you all calling this again?
We're calling
Eating
it
out with Eric and Steven.
Eating Out.
with
that's all
Eric and
right.
Steven. Eating out.
Yeah.
Eating out. Okay.
Okay, wait. So we got to go back to the Richard Kind story. So you guys met and didn't like each
All
other.
right, I will
at the
tell you.
Improv.
First of all, we rode in a Jeep, not a golf cart, in Israel.
Okay. All right, fine.
I have the video, and I'll tell you how we met.
Go ahead.
I asked Michael Boatman to introduce us.
Really?
Yes. And take me out. I like him. I think he's very funny. He seems like a nice guy. Please let us be friends. And it's through Michael Boatman. And that's the bottom line. That's what I remember.
Okay, so how did you and LeVar pair up?
Well,
I mean, aside from your will and graciousness.
Oh, no, it was not Will and Grace. It was the show.
It was Perception.
A couple of shows after
Perception.
that. It was called
Right.
Perception, which I did on TNT for 3 years, 2012 to 14. And Ken Biller, who created the show, said after the pilot, the dean of the university is going to be a big part in the show. I said, great. And he said, LeVar Burton. I said, we'll never get LeVar Burton. He said, he owes me money. So it was a slam dunk.
True.
He's a
I
big
have a
deadbeat.
question. Did you win indeed 12 Emmys, LeVar?
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Where are they all? Where are they all?
They're in another room.
The Emmy room.
You don't trust us to do the podcast from the Emmy room?
The acoustics are terrible in the Emmy room.
All that metal.
Yeah. They're in the living room above the mantle. They're in a
that's
very
fantastic.
inconspicuous place.
And they can't be. They're big. They're huge. I have a third place golf tournament thing. This is the room I'm in. You know, I had 12 Emmys. My golly. I know the Peabody. I know about the Peabody, and I know about the Emmys.
Did you know about the
12.
Grammy? Did you know about the Grammy?
Tell me
No.
what?
No.
Did you know about? You didn't know about the Grammy, Richard.
Was it that?
What's
But
the
it's a
Grammy for?
it's a polka thing, right? So it's not they're never broadcast.
Yeah. Huge polka.
That's right. That's right. The polka is never on the broadcast.
It's never,
portion
which I think
of-
is
Can I
not
ask you
right.
something,
No.
LeVar?
Yeah.
Did you do theater when you were on the upswing?
I did not. I have to say, I came out of college into the bigs.
Into
at the
Roots
age
right
of
away.
19. Yeah, Roots was my first professional audition.
But were you fresh out of the seminary?
No, I was actually I was in theater school at USC, the University of Southern California.
I remember
here
you
in Los
talking
Angeles.
about that. I remember you talking about that and how scared you were. Because we should say how we all know each other. He said with a mouth full of
Yes, well,
Illuminati's
we share
pizza, but
Illuminati.
reading.
We're all sharing Illuminati's pizza tonight, which is
really very delicious.
it is very
It is
delicious.
pretty good. It's very good.
It is good.
We know each other well now. Like LeVar, I never knew you
Right.
until we had
Admired
these
you.
dinners.
Admired you from afar. Right.
As I told to Michelle Lee one time, and she nearly slapped me, I said, "Oh my God, I grew up on you."
Mm-hmm.
And she nearly slapped me. But LeVar, I grew up on you.
That's true.
I did.
I wish you were in
I-
striking distance right now. Slap Richard Kind.
Yeah.
What I love is people come up and say you were on my grandmother's favorite show, and then I hit them. every
But
time.
what is interesting, we all know each other from a group called CADS, Character Actors Dining Society.
Yeah.
And so met you, talked to you, blah, blah, blah. And then during the lockdown, we all met over Zoom.
We are very important to one another. Have become really essential. This group of men has really become a central part of my life and our relationship.
Agreed.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
It was and it was tough to suddenly have it. It's just pulled out of the rug out from under our feet. Obviously, for everybody, everything was tough. But this particular thing was like I would look forward to it so much. Connecting on that level. I'm wondering about restaurants because restaurants for me as a kid were kind of this My parents didn't take us to fancy restaurants very often. We went often to a place called the Swiss Chalet, which was basically takeout chicken, and we'd get there at 5 because my father didn't like lineups. But then,
what town is this?
This is Toronto. This is in Canada. Swiss Chalet is a franchise across the country. I still love the chicken, but in terms of fancy, I fantasized about it because it was not my life, and I'd see it in movies, and so at 16 I would go to a place with I'd take first dates to a place called the Magic Pan, which was crepes. So everyone else is like doing beers and bongs at parties, and I'm taking a girl to a crepe restaurant at 16. Did you guys? What was the first like fancy restaurant you guys remember?
Oh, that's so interesting. Well, we had Magic Pan, and we used to call it the Crappery. So that's how I grew up.
I thought it was just a Canadian.
But that's my mother's sense of humor. I'll tell you something. I adore restaurants. I think eating alone at a restaurant is the saddest thing.
No, stop it!
Oh no!
Get out of here!
I got to go with Richard on this one. It's very hard.
Really?
I
disagree.
This is great. I think it's the saddest thing in the world. I don't go to restaurants for food. I go to restaurants to be with people.
Okay.
And I will sit for 2, 3, 4 hours. I love restaurants. It is social. It has nothing to do with the food.
Where do you go for food? If you don't go to a restaurant for food, where do you go?
My therapist's office.
Okay, great.
No, where do I go? When I was a kid,
Come on.
We had a couple of places. There was Romeo and Juliet's in Trenton. That was an Italian restaurant. We went to Maruca's for pizza, Italian.
Yep.
And we went to Twin Dragon. No, not Twin Dragon. Something Dragon. What I do remember, the most famous time that we were there is we were there on a Sunday night when the Beatles were going to be on Ed Sullivan. And I remember my grandfather saying that it's all recorded, that it's not their voices. These kids, I mean, my grandfather was... That's
cynical.
How he was.
He was cynical.
Cynical, and these kids with these long hair. But those are the restaurants, and then we used to go to the country club that my parents belonged to. We used to have a buffet, and at the restaurant. And my dad, I think the reason I'm fat today is because my dad would go, can you believe him? He's getting his money's worth. He is, yeah.
Oh, my God.
4 slices of prime rib, yeah. Go. And
Listen,
I was applauded for overeating. And I would get sick. I would always say I can't go to school the next day because I was sick to my stomach.
But I have to tell you, like, the eating alone, I mean, yes, it can have that kind of, what's the word? That element of loneliness, but.
Yes, melancholy.
Sad.
Right.
Richard called it sad. He said it was sad.
It's sad.
Yeah.
Well, it's the saddest thing to me.
No, I mean, I've had to, I go away to work. I'm working in Chicago now, and nobody my age wants to hang out. I don't even want to hang out and go clubbing or something like that. I will go out to dinner by myself, rather with myself. Right? You have to change the dynamic of it, and I enjoy it. I do. I'm friends with. Do we all know Dana Delaney? Dana is great. And one thing that she demonstrated to me was that she could be with herself, which is to say she wouldn't, she didn't have to depend on people. She didn't need to be with friends or a guy or whatever the hell. And instead, she would take herself out to eat, and it was really enjoyable. And she did it on her own time, and she spent time with herself, and then later on, she got herself drunk and got herself home and made a pass at herself. And frequently, and sometimes she got lucky with herself, and other times she would say no to herself.
If I'm eating alone, in a restaurant, I always ask for a table for 4, and I ask them to leave all the settings. And then as I'm eating, I just keep looking at my watch because I just want people in the restaurant to feel for me. I want them to feel something for me.
And frequently you get the check on the right. It's on the house, right? Because they feel bad for you.
That's right. Hey, we're
they don't want to see you go out.
But you're married, LeVar, and you go out with your wife, I'm sure, and your kids and everything, right?
Yeah. But I do enjoy. I have to say, I do enjoy an odd luncheon by myself with a book, right? In a nice restaurant, a nice cocktail, and just watching people and enjoying. It's nice. I like me. I can hang with me.
But other people like you too, so they must see you and just come up to you.
Yeah, but I don't mind. And then I'm not alone.
That's true.
And I think that's a personal hell.
Okay.
And that maybe tells you more about me than you, which is even sadder than someone eating alone.
The old days, you go to a bar or something by yourself, and I don't know. Did you guys ever smoke? Back in the days, you would smoke because then you were doing something active. You weren't just drinking wasn't enough because you can't. So nowadays, of course, it's the phone. Like you're on your phone all the time. But I hate sitting at a bar doing my emails or something. It's
texting and drinking, not much is fun. Smoking and drinking, a lot of fun. Texting and drinking, not so much.
Not so much.
And how about before there was a phone? Because I could while away the hours on a phone, and I can understand that, but I think that's...
I would read.
You would read?
I would read.
I've gone to salad places, and I'll do it there, but I remember...
You can read with a salad. You can't read with hot
a salad,
food.
but not with a sandwich.
Something sad about reading with
not
hot
with
food.
ribs. You cannot read with ribs.
I won't. I won't go out and have a waiter wait on me and stuff like that. That I won't do. And I remember being at Forensics, which was the speech club the speech organization that I did in high school.
Yes.
And they were all in competition or had their own thing, and I had free moments, and I went out and I sat down alone at a restaurant, and the waiter came by, and I just looked up and said, I have friends. I just wanted to tell them that I had friends. Oh, I'll tell you, want to hear the loneliest, saddest Christmas
That's why we're here.
ever?
That's why people tune in. That's what they're waiting here.
Top this, my friends. Top this one. I'm at Second City. At Second City, we worked every single night of the year except Monday nights and Christmas Eve. We worked Christmas Day, we worked Thanksgiving, things like that. New Year's Eve. Never worked Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve fell on a Sunday. So I flew out that Sunday and I spent Christmas Eve at Disneyland. Nobody went with me. Nobody could go. I flew alone. We had a free round trip ticket. I flew, because I was a starving actor or poor actor, flew down to Disneyland. So I spend my Christmas Eve day at Disneyland. The place
Disneyland
closes
or
at
Disney World?
Florida, Disney World.
Disney World. Yeah,
I went down to Florida. Sorry. I went down to Disney World. And you know how they have those diagonal lines where people wait, to enter the car? I was one.
You were the only
They go, how many, please? One. I just kept going, one. But I have friends back home.
Yeah.
One.
Sadder than eating by yourself is being the only guy on the whirling teacups ride.
Yes.
That's horrible. How about
sad.
The Matterhorn in the dark? Wee.
Particularly if you're reading while you're also sitting in the seat. But that's sort of the ultimate
On the
sad
Matterhorn.
story. Yeah.
Anyway, it's just showbiz stories.
Showbiz stories.
We were at one of our
Is
dinners.
this the best podcast you've done?
This is absolutely of all the podcast pilots. There was one night we were out. Kevin Pollak was with us, and we talked about the first rookie mistake. It could be the first time you shot something. Could be the first. Maybe it was en routes for you, LeVar. I don't know. But the sort of that rookie mistake that you make when no one's informed you.
Yes. Yes. And it was indeed en routes. It was. On location, Savannah, Georgia. And, it was my first job. I was a 19-year-old kid. I was a sophomore in college. I wanted to do all my own stunts. In all fairness, to me, my stunt double was a 45-year-old man.
Oh, wow.
And I thought, we can't look that much alike. we can't, really. And so I was very eager to do as much as I could. And so there is a sequence where we are in wrestling class with the actor Jitu Kambuka, played the wrestler. Towering man, bald head, glistening skin. Beautiful, beautiful man. And in all of the exercises throughout this manhood training camp, Kunta is always the first one to volunteer. He's always the first one to volunteer until it comes to circumcision, and he hesitates, which shows that he has some good sense after all. So it's the wrestling class, and I wanted to do my stunts, and in one particular move, I leapt and I was making the decision in the air: should I land on my back or not? And I jammed my jammed my shoulder into the ground. Knew I had hurt myself, but did not dare reveal how much pain I was in.
Wow.
Because, I didn't want to be embarrassed that I had done something stupid, and I suffered. I suffered for a good week, 10 days.
And you never told anybody?
Oh, God, no. Never
Did
told
he know?
anybody.
Did this guy know?
The stunt coordinator? The guy who was supposed to be my double? The 45, 50-year-old man? Yeah, he knew. He knew. He knew I hurt myself. He knew I hurt myself. And he hooked me up with Epsom salts but that was my rookie mistake. I mean, it's one thing to insist on doing your stunts, but I wasn't a stunt man. I mean, I was a dancer and athletic, but it was a rookie mistake. And had I hurt myself seriously, I would have put the jobs of 140 people at risk.
Right.
And that's irresponsible. So
I never even think of that. I only think of my shoulder. Something. If you go out, all those people, and the hundreds of thousands of dollars that may be risked because of schedule change, and you're absolutely right.
It's dominoes.
Yes,
it's dominoes.
My first movie ever. I was already practically 30 because I've been doing theater, but it was in Zimbabwe. It was a very not good version of The Lost World. And it was John Rhys Davies and David Warner were the old professors, and I was
wow.
Yeah, it was so great.
Don't you love David Warner?
I loved David Warner because time after time I could go on about
time after time. David Warner is the best Jack the Ripper ever.
But there was a stunt. I didn't think of it as a stunt. I didn't know anything yet. Rookie mistake. And we were in a boat, and I'm supposed to dive out of the boat and save this kid in this probably malaria-filled swamp that I didn't question. And I dove in. They're rolling cameras, and I'm wearing tall boots, and they fill with water, and I start to drown. And the director thinks I'm making some bizarre character choice. I think he would drown at this point. And he's screaming at me, just get him. Just get the kid. Just save the kid. And I'm trying to get him to the boat, and I can't, and they have to cut cameras. And I'm on the shore. I'm panting. I can't believe that I didn't die. And John Rhys Davies walks over to me and says, "Are you all right, dear boy?" I said, "Yes, I'm okay, John." He said, "Never again in your career should you do anything that fucking stupid." And that was like, it wasn't that I dove in, it was that I didn't question it. I think it's the same thing with you, LeVar. Like, you just don't question it. Like, no, I'm supposed to do my own stunts. I'm supposed to be...
I can do this.
I can do this. It's part of acting. I was doing Shakespeare in theory school. I knew nothing about stunts. So now I know, as per your point, Richard, now I know to go, there's a stunt man for this, right? I'm not gonna arm wrestle by myself or doing my own stunt there.
You're probably all expecting me to chime in with some great story, but I really...
Did you learn nothing as a young man?
I do have a story. It has nothing to do with stunts, but it has to do with me being so rookie.
Go.
And being laughed at by a group of about 60 people because they were the crew. But two of those people were Mary Tyler Moore and Eileen Heckert.
Wow.
Oh, my God.
So I will tell you what happens is...
Was this basement piss orgy that you used to go to?
It was piss orgy too, right?
But at least I never ate alone. Okay. The camera is on Mary and Eileen Heckert, over me. And I leave the scene as the two of them continue talking, and I leave the room. And I open the door and I leave the room. However, the door is blocked by all of the lights that are shining on Mary and Eileen, okay? And I said, I don't know what to do. How do I get out? They go, what you do is you just go there, hide by the lamps, try and make yourself as inconspicuous as you can, as if you've left the room. And I go and I hide my face and I try and make myself 4 feet tall. It all goes very well. They turn the cameras on me. I do the scene. And as I exit the door, I don't exit. I go to the corner of the room and I hide my face while the camera is on me. And I'm like hiding, trying to be and I hear laughter, and I turn around and everybody is just laughing and laughing at me. And Mary comes over and she gives me a hug, and aren't I cute, and blah, blah, blah. And it was very nice. And I endeared myself. Actually, I endeared myself to her because then her husband came to the set and they said, Mary never introduces him to anybody. And she introduced me to him. And they said, wow, she must really like you.
Who can take a nothing day and suddenly make it all seem worthwhile?
That's right. So that was.
You made Mary Tyler Moore laugh. That's
yeah.
Oh my God. And Eileen Heckert.
Eileen Heckert.
Eileen Heckert. Oh my gosh.
Well, I was doing a stage version. I was doing Comeback Little Sheba at the Roundabout, and this was probably in the
Emma Patha Murkison?
No. But I work with her, Esapatha, and she did that. She did that, and
F is her cousin.
That's right. That's F. Murray Abraham, Patha Murkison. No, this was with Phil Bosco and Shirley Knight. And Maya Dillon and Kevin Conroy.
And
let me tell you something.
That.
I worked with Kevin Conroy years ago. God.
Nice and it was and Phil Bosco, of course, legend, and Shirley Knight, and it's an old chestnut of a play, but they were so good and so real. And I had a small part. I was young. I played 2 parts: a milkman, and then the boyfriend at the end that picks up her the young. That's right, the daughter. So then I had one job. I had to pick her up. I had to meet her and then go in the back room and then come out with her suitcase as though she'd packed. And we were going to leave. And it was very emotional. And Shirley was amazing. And we went downstage to say goodbye to her. And my suitcase unhinged and fell open, and there was nothing in it. And the audience... Silently, I even heard them. I could hear their necks kind of cracking, like. And Shirley saw it, and it was just a ruining, the ruination of 2.5 hours of great, beautiful drama destroyed by Schmuckhead. And so from then on, I filled the suitcase.
Oh, you did, as opposed to check the lock.
Well, yeah. Yes. Maybe I did both. You're right.
I don't know. How's this going? Is this what you want? Is this good?
I think this is what America wants. Okay, so we know that Roots was your first big break. I mean, there's nothing. What compares with that, Richard? What was it for you? What was the one that changed?
What was your Roots, Richard?
What was your Roots,
Mr.
your Klein? Tell us.
I got to tell you, I don't have one.
Well,
I just don't.
Mad About You was the first time I was really aware of you. Was there a bigger one before that?
No, I have a different career than LeVar.
Yeah.
LeVar came in as nothing, as a college kid, walking down campus, and he wakes up one day, a year later, and he's a superstar, a hero, an icon before he deserves to be an icon. That you are as wonderful a man today, and this is no soft soap, because if people who get it when they're young and they just can't handle it. You had no manager to tell you, hey, save your money. You had no manager to say drugs are bad. You had no manager to say, look, you don't need 5 cars. You had no manager to say, be a decent person. And you are the luckiest man in the world to have bypassed all that. You are so blessed.
I am indeed. And I will tell you, Richard, I did have a manager. I had a woman named Dolores Robinson, Holly Robinson, Pete's mom. Dolores was she was my first agent, and we left the Ray Sackheim agency together. She was the agent at Ray Sackheim that sort of was in charge of me, and Nancy Hudson was in charge of Mark Hamill. And Mark and I were at the agency at the same time, and I had just done Roots, he had just done Star Wars, and we kept running into each other in 1977 as, you know, Roots was being publicized around the world, and as was Star Wars, and we would just sort of run into each other in Amsterdam or you know, in this city and that city, and we both, Mark and I, eventually left Sackheim, and Dolores became my manager, and Nancy became Mark's for some time.
But I'm talking about a life manager as well.
Well, she was in essence my second mother. You know, Dolores, she kept me safe. She told me very recently, I did not know this. She told me very recently that she used to call me up and say, "So where are you going tonight?" And I'd say, "Well, I'm going to such and such a club, you know, with my boys and hanging out." Dolores would get there early and sit in the back. And she would be there.
Oh,
she
God,
would
that's
be
beautiful.
lurking in the shadows, just looking out to make sure that I didn't do anything stupid.
Right.
God,
that
if
made
only
the papers.
If only Stephen
right?
had someone like that.
You know what?
yeah.
I'm serious. If only I did. I mean, that's fantastic.
It
to have
is. It's
somebody that
fantastic.
looks out for you, that, you know, but doesn't interfere with you.
When you're young, you need somebody in your life who gives a shit.
That's right. And who's a
Yeah.
mentor.
Who is willing
that's
to
right.
tell you, who's willing to love you enough to tell you that your shit in fact does stink, and that you really need to sit the fuck down, right?
Right.
Somebody
But also,
to be that kind of honest with you.
I think also that Stephen and I and Richard, we came from the theater, and you come into people that are not going to put up with your 21-year-old ass thinking that you have all the answers, or that whatever you
Yes.
learned in theater school is all you need. So, I mean, I think of my entire 20s as an apprenticeship, learning how to behave. By the time I actually got a television audition, I think I learned from the best about how to behave or how not to in some cases. But
Right, exactly. Now, in answer to your question, though, when I was a kid, I lay in bed thinking I was going to be a star. I thought that I was going to run away from home and leave my ransom note on the big screen, and to my parents going, "I told you, you didn't let me do it." And that was going to be my runaway note. And then I remember Carol O'Connor and Adam West both said, "Hey, I'm not just Archie Bunker. I'm not just Adam. I don't want to just be known for that." And it was my goal not to be known for any one role. And I remember when they said the breakout character of Spin City is going to be Paul Lassiter, I fought against it. No publicist, nothing. I didn't want to be a breakout character. I wanted to be as old as I am today, still getting work. I'd like to have work more offered to me, which is what fame does to you. But otherwise, no. I wanted it to be a journeyman actor. That's what I wanted to do.
Agreed.
Just
Yeah.
different role, different job, different people, year after year, not one thing. So, and you were also lucky, LeVar, that you were able to escape that, because you could have been a one-note actor too.
Well, they you know, there was an idea that floating at Universal to put me in a series, kind of like the Life and Times of Kunta Kinte, but we passed.
When was that? What year?
1978.
But wasn't Roots the Life and Times of Kunta? I mean, like,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
I think you were number one on the call sheet.
But that brings up the point that the whole component of celebrity and fame and wealth and popularity and all that stuff is, you know, or today it's followers or clicks or whatever,
Right.
has a decidedly kind of deteriorating effect on the creative life, right? I mean, we can talk about how wonderful it is to be artists and all that thing, but in the back of our mind, it's is the reality that we have to make a living, right? And people, what is the word? Commodify you. I mean, just the fact that they want to do the Life and Times of Kunta Kinte, it's exasperating. But that's our business. That's the world, and it can frequently mess you up. I mean, celebrity in and of itself is like a drug. It's unnatural. It's unnatural. There's no celebrity in the animal kingdom.
Being an actor is unnatural. I always say.
I would argue that it's not, because that it's inherent in people to want to tell stories and all that stuff and portray different characters. But it's the business part of it. It's the fame part of it. The celebratory nature of it. That's not in nature. Like the lemur doesn't.
Well, there were some lemurs that are hotter than others.
Look up to the otter. Lemurs wish they were otters, but. You know what I'm saying? It's intoxicating. Actually, for some reason I retained. I like to think a degree of humility. Because when I was a kid, my father managed comedians and singers in the Borscht Belt and nightclub.
That's right. And your mother, they were both in show business.
My mother was a singer, but as a kid, I would go to these nightclubs and see the comedians backstage and on stage, and of course. Like everybody else, we mostly saw these people on stage. And my father's comedian was a guy named Pat Henry, who was a Chicago comic and who opened for Frank Sinatra for like 20 years. And it was thrilling. It was my father's big act. Backstage, he would take off his tuxedo, and he had a girdle on, okay? And they were smoking endless cigarettes. And the language was foul, And so I had, at an early age, I had an understanding that there was this kind of sleazy, double edge to show business. Is not sleazy necessarily, but a seediness. And even look, when you do a play in New York, we've done Broadway. Broadway, wow, it's fantastic, and it is. And then your dressing room looks like the toilet at CBGB. It's a mess. And it's almost necessary to kind of keep yourself in check. So to echo Richard, the fact that LeVar is, look, you have a long career and it's ongoing, that you're such a nice person. I mean, I'm sure you have your moments when you're horrific. Let's face it. But
talk to my children.
Yes,
they'll tell you.
But thank God,
I'm a monster.
He was a monster. LeVar Burton, he was a monster. That's right.
That's right.
At the end of that reading rainbow, it wasn't a pot of gold. It was a bowl of hell.
What's the worst, ugliest, meanest character you ever played on stage or on screen?
Yeah. See, I haven't had an opportunity to do that.
I'd love to see you do that.
I so want to play the villain. I so want to play that soulless, right? Psychopathic, sociopathic villain.
That's all I've played for the last 15 years, man. After Wings, I've played schmucks in suits, douchebags, and sociopaths, and awful guys, like bad guys, broken men.
Why do you think
you're very good at it?
Well, why do I think it is? I realized after years of therapy and a lot of shit that I went through that there was a part of me that kind of understood, I'll call this the broken man. I mean, I can only speak about the broken men I've played. And that turns out, that's why I said earlier, I wish I'd had a different kind of role model growing up, because my male role models were all sort of broken guys, even in literature and theater, Jamie Tyrone and Tom Wingfield, they were all fucked up, and they found their resolution in poetry and liquor, and it's romantic. But the reality is, it's ugly.
Well, particularly if it's a guy in a girdle with a dirty mouth, that's gonna throw you for sure. The Pat
I
Henry
tell you,
must have been...
to this day, I can't remove my girdle without cursing like a sailor.
Fucking Henry. Fucking Pat Henry.
Richard, have you ever played somebody really evil?
Yes, I did. Stephen, did you see me do The Big Knife?
No, God damn it, I didn't.
All right, I'll tell you. I'll pat myself on the back.
Go do.
I was nominated for a Tony for this.
Wow. Nice.
I played the monster you all want to play. It was horrible. And in this particular play, I drive a man to suicide. I do. I drive the lead based on Garfield, John Garfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did it with a guy named Scott Cohen. The play was directed by Joanne Woodward and at the Williamstown.
Wow.
And then I did it on Broadway. With Bobby Cannavale. And he's got two scenes. Both are about 12 to 15 minutes long. And nobody else matters except for this horrible man. And it was So much fun. So great.
So I did this series called Get Shorty, which was
Yes.
on, which was
I
fantastic.
loved it.
Right?
Loved
Chris
Get Shorty.
O'Dowd, Ray Romano,
Yeah.
Yes.
Davey
Right.
Holmes wrote it.
Great show.
Great series. And in a way, not enough people saw it. It was on. It was you only had the channel in a bundle if you bought it, with or whatever in a package. And I played a guy that was perilously close to, Harvey Weinstein. In fact, not nearly as bad. And I even said to the producer and the creator, Davey Holmes, I said, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be these guys anymore. I feel I've expunged and investigated and just worn the clothes of these guys for too long. And he understood. And since I kind of made that declaration to the universe, I've been playing much better roles. And I haven't been, I guess I've been consciously seeking them out.
Yeah.
But Stephen, I search out those roles that you're now turning your back on. And because like I did there's a movie, if we can plug a thing, although nobody will ever see it, but I think it's a pretty good movie called Guns and Run. I play a mob boss, a horrible mob boss. I loved it.
I'd love to see you
I
do
had the
that.
beard for that. Yeah. And, I played a gangster.
Convincingly?
Oh, no, I'm not that good.
Can I tell a sweet story about LeVar? And I did my first, I don't do them anymore because they terrify me, but I did my first autograph convention, which was revelatory on many levels, And the number one was everybody was incredible. You think oh, Jesus, it's a dog and pony show and I'm going to be there like a piece of meat and people are going to make fun of me. People are so lovely from every walk of life.
They are.
It's okay. So that blew my mind, how great people are.
Are you talking about the people who are getting the autographs?
Yeah, the people that pay for the Marvel Universe. Put it that way.
Yeah.
The people that put Star Trek and the Marvel Universe and Lord of the Rings and freaking Harry Potter. These people, it's unbelievable. These people who may
Will
not
come out on a rainy Saturday,
brother,
stand in line.
Will they ever?
To get your autograph and to bullshit for 30 seconds and then be replaced by the next person.
And each one is kind of meaningful. There's not and I was shocked to discover that there was not one hint of cynicism. And, I mean, on the other hand, you're on display behind a desk with your pictures, stapled up behind you. And there's a degree of humility that you have to kind of learn and deal with. So
it's work. It's work.
And it's work because you're performing. You're performing.
You are.
Yeah.
Giving everyone who comes to your table a quality experience of your time is energy output. And if you do that for several hours consecutive, it's exhausting.
Now, I only learned that after I had been there for about an hour and I sat at my table and I was new to this and intimidated by it all and a little freaked out. And about 40 feet away across from me sat LeVar next to Jonathan Frakes, the crown prince, the clown prince of sci-fi,
of cons.
Of cons.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And I looked up at some point, I didn't get very many people standing in front of my table, and I looked up, and there's LeVar and Frakes looking at me with kind of knowing smiles, amused. And I saw them. I was so happy to see them, and I ran over, and they said, "All right, we're going to teach you what to do. All right, but we're going to go out to the best restaurant in town, and then we're going to teach you what to do." And you taught me to really let go of my expectations in a sense, and let the love come through. Let the love come through. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And
it really is it's not every actor's career that involves this kind of fan love, right?
Yeah.
And to be in the middle of that and know that, these people are spending their hard-earned money to come and they pay an entrance fee and then they line up and they buy an autograph and you sign the picture and do the selfie or whatever. It doesn't make sense to not want to be present for that.
There's so much between the actor who's known and the audience. There's so many layers that you forget that they're there.
Yeah.
And I mean, which is what's so great about the immediacy of doing theater, right? Or any sort of performance when there's an audience there, because there's a real connection. And so you reminded me that you're connecting right now
With the audience.
With the audience, literally. Yeah. I've been to these conventions, and guess what? I get up when there's nobody around, standing at my stupid table, and I get Danny Trejo's autograph, and I go over to Nichelle Nichols, and I'm freaked out, and I take a picture doing this, and I'm making the Vulcan sign, and I saw Robert Wagner, I saw who else? I saw Diane Carroll, for Christ's sake, and I'm like, I'm never going to see these people, so I'm as much a fan, and it's exciting.
That I agree with.
Oh, right?
I love it.
That was one where they did a panel. I was at a panel where they did a whole Animal House reunion.
Wow.
I mean,
I would love to see that.
It was great, man.
Like 99% are the most beautiful. I love when people come up and say, I love the show. But we all have those stories that are not so good. So favorite fan response on the street or at a con. Your favorite, we all have a lot of them, but your favorite fan encounter.
Wow.
Wow. Oh, I know. Okay.
Well, I will tell you when I got what celebrity was about. Doing The Hunter, Steve McQueen's last picture. Steve and I are under the L tracks in Chicago. And as he did, Steve attracted a crowd of people. He didn't need to do anything. People would just gather around him. And I'm signing autographs, and I look over and I notice that Steve isn't. He's not signing. He's not signing. And so later that afternoon, I said, Pappy, what's up with, the not signing? I called him Pappy because Papillon was my favorite McQueen movie. I called him Pappy. He called me Birdie.
Oh my God.
Pappy, what's up with you not signing autographs? He said, Birdie, here's the thing. I'm a kid with a hunchback. I never expected this to happen to me. And he says, over time, I've sort of figured out that what people are after is the connection, being able to say that they were there. It's a story that they can tell. 9 times out of 10, that piece of paper gets crumpled up, put in a kitchen drawer somewhere. I would rather take the few minutes, rather than having my head down and writing on a piece of paper, eyes up, shake a hand, say a kind word, and that will be the moment that they share. And it made a whole lot of sense to me. Of course, Steve McQueen was a big enough star to not have to sign autographs, but I got what he was saying. Make every encounter, if you can, make it a quality moment with the fan.
Richard, funny fan encounter.
Okay. I can't say I have anything like that, but it's some guy, and Brian Darcy James was with me at the time. Some guy comes up, he says, oh man, I know you. Oh yeah, didn't you used to be? Hold on, because there's poetry to it. He goes, oh yeah, I know you. Didn't you used to run the porn stand over on 34th Street?
Oh my God. Wow.
Now that's a claim to fame.
Yes, and then I got mad about
hilarious. Wow. It's not a fan, but my father once said to me, he goes, son, did you ever see Tender Mercies with Robert Duvall? I said, yeah. He goes, why can't you act like that?
It would be Tender Murray.
I said, why can't you give me a nose like Robert Duvall?
I was in a parking lot once, a big Costco kind of parking lot, and I could see a guy recognize me from 300 feet away, and I could see him walking and then walking faster and starting to run. I was like, I guess I better wait. I guess I better be that guy. He loves me enough that he's running really hard now. And he got to me, and he bent over. He's just like, thank you. I just wanted to tell you that Sean Hayes is a genius. True story.
That is great.
That's hilarious.
That is great. And true.
But of course he's right.
I had to wait 25 seconds for that.
Yeah.
I was on a plane. I was on a plane a long time ago, and behind me, over my left shoulder in the other row, was the actress Stella Stevens, who blonde bombshell, and I saw her kind of looking at me, and I was like, "Oh God, Stella Stevens, fantastic!" And I went over to her and I said, "I just want to say that," and she said, "You're Peter Horton, right?" and I would get Peter Horton all the time when my hair was long.
Well, that's me, and he's part of our CADS group. I really do get Fred Milliner. Fred Milliner.
You get Fred?
I get him all the time. I get him all the time.
Wow.
And they go, "You're Doc Ock, Doc Ock," and all I say, they go, "You're great as Doc Ock," and I go, "You should have seen me in art."
Exactly. Always say yes. Always say yes.
I get Ben Vereen. Ben Vereen.
I'll bet you. Yes,
I get Ben Vereen a lot. I get Ben Vereen. Yeah, and I just do the Fosse thing.
This just happened about 3 nights ago in Florida. I'm at a bar next to a middle-aged couple, and she leans over and she goes, and I could play along. I didn't have to, but I did. She goes, "You look like Richard Kind." And I go, "I do?" And she goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Yeah, I like him. He's good. Do you like him?" She goes, "Yeah."
That's all right.
Okay, I have a question. Have anybody here made a fool of themselves in front of somebody that they wanted to meet, like any celebrity or something like that?
Oh, 100%.
I have done that. I have done that too many times.
I didn't make here's what I said. It was Vince Tayback.
Yeah, Vic Tayback. Victor Tayback.
Vic Tayback from Alice.
Right. Yes, from Alice. Comes to the Second City. And he watches the show, and afterwards I go, "Look, I know you're so great on Alice, but I got to tell you," I go, "Oh my God, you were so good in Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3." And he goes, "That's funny because I never got paid for that." And I go, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah, I guess because I was never in it." It was Kenneth McMillan. I was mortified. I was utterly mortified.
That's terrible. That is really terrible.
Horrible. I know. But funny story. Had it not happened, I would have nothing for a podcast.
I walked up when I was much younger. I walked up to Robert Plant in a bar, and he was clearly hitting on a girl, and I said, "Mr. Plant," I think I said, and he turned around, and I had nothing. I don't know what I even thought I was going to say, but I literally said, "Thank you for the music." And he looked me up and down and said, "Yeah, you're welcome," and turned back around. And I just thought, "Fuck, I'll never have that again." What would I have said? What would I have said? I don't know.
It's the unearned specialness of celebrity. It's like we're just schmucks, that are on that have our mugs on TV.
And we know it, and anybody who's listening to this are finding out just
now
how
they
lucky
know
we are. But that's what it is, and it's fairly interesting.
All right, boys. On that note, you can see Steven Weber and Richard Kind in the Sunshine Boys at the
that's right. Jupiter, the
Jupiter Auditorium,
Jupiter Playhouse.
Will we ever do it, Stephen? Will we ever do it?
I'm ready.
The finger.
Hey,
the
look,
finger.
Richard Kind,
Frumpies.
LeVar Burton, Stephen and I are very grateful you guys dropped by to our inaugural eating out.
This was the first.
Thank you
for the first.
Thank you for eating out with us.
I was going to eat anyway, so the invitation to eat out was, it was lovely. So thank you.
You guys rock, and
as lovely as we were, you guys, as not just hosts but as actors, are just terrific.
And because of that, because you said that, both of you guys, we're picking up the check tonight.
Yes, we are.
How lovely.
Pizza.
I'm lovely.
Pizza on Steven Weber.
And
I would have ordered better wine.
All right, boys. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, guys.